falls into that category. She has a love of words and a love of tennis and a love of her two twins, her 19-year-old twins. Is that you guys? Yeah? Raise your hands. She has 19-year-old twins. If you have kids, I have kids. She's been through it. So I'm guessing that you look like nice people. So with that, please welcome to the stage Linda Gonzalez.
Thank you all for coming. I crashed my motorcycle. Oh. That's what I told a few people, very few people. And I have never really told people all of the details. I didn't talk about the fact that I bought the motorcycle on a Wednesday, I got insurance for it on a Thursday, and on Friday, it was totaled. I was in a place in my life where I was deciding that I wanted to be on the road and I didn't need a place to stay. I left my apartment in Larkspur, got rid of almost everything that I owned, and I went to stay with a friend in Grass Valley. I had a Prius and I decided even a Prius was too much. Let me just say, how many people here had a hard time in traffic today? Anybody have a hard time in traffic? How about parking? Anybody have a hard time finding parking when you're coming here? Yeah. So I was like, I want to use the carpool lane, or even maybe get in between those lanes the way the motorcycles do, and I want to have some better parking. I decided that I was going to sell my house, then I was going to give my Prius to my son, and I was going to get the motorcycle. Problem was that the Prius battery died 2 weeks after I got to Grass Valley, so I had to up my timeline. Luckily for me, there was a local store that had the perfect starter bike, a 250 Honda Rebel. Now, I want to say that when I told people I was going to do this, I had a couple of very clear reactions. It was either, that's so cool, I love that you're doing that, you're going to be like a Buddha on a bicycle. And then I had my son and a few other people who were like, don't you know how dangerous motorcycles are? Have not you seen the statistics? I listened, and I took a series of motorcycle lessons. I also got all the gear, including this really cool jacket. As you can see, it has a lot of padding. I had no idea people did this. Okay. I had no idea that would happen. There you go. Okay, something's in there that's not supposed to be in there. So, there's padding all over the place. I bought my jacket, I bought my padded shoes, I had my boots, I had my gloves that had these little hard knobbies on it, and I had my DOT approved helmet. As I said, I got the bike, and on Friday I decided, all right, I'm just going to take it for a really slow ride. I want to take this carefully. But in Grass Valley, there are no slow rides. There's a lot of hills, and there's a lot of curves. I get on the bike, and I start driving it. And I'm just going to do a circle. That's what I tell myself. I'm going to go right, home. I make the first right, I make the second right, and I miss the third right. There's a curve, and I'm like, there it is! And I'm driving. So I'm like getting very nervous. I don't know where I am, what I'm doing. And I think, what did they tell me? What did they tell me? So I'm like, okay, here you go. They said, hug it with your thighs. Get your hands up and make sure that your wrists are flat so you don't rev the engine too much. Make sure you're checking your mirrors and make sure that you're not going more than 35 miles an hour. And I was like, no problem. I do not want to go more than 35 miles an hour. After about 20 minutes, I come to a stop sign and I'm like, I'm done. I'm so done. I'm so tired. I'm afraid. I just got to get home. So I'm going to turn right and go home. I look to the left, and right about where you are, and I see a car coming. And when you're in a car, you think, you know how it is, you just turn. I've got plenty of time, I'm going to turn. If I'd been in a car, it would have been like, piece of cake, turn. But I was on a motorcycle, and I didn't know what I was doing. So there was that wise part of me that said, just wait. But then the part of me that was foolish said, no, there's a car behind me. They're going to be annoyed. Like, who cares, right? But I was worried about the people behind me being annoyed at me for waiting for the car to pass. So I said, I'm going to do it. I I rev my engine a little. Oh, and I forgot to tell you the other very first thing I did that wasn't quite right. Who here rides a motorcycle? Anybody? All right, so when you're gonna start the motorcycle, what do you first turn on? What's the thing you turn on? The gas, yeah, but there's a little naughty thing called the throttle. You turn the throttle on so that the engine can warm up, and then you turn it down. I turned it on and I forgot to turn it down. The choke, there it is. Thank you, the choke. See, so much I know about motorcycles. The choke. Okay. So then what happens is, so it's a little rev, but I don't hear it because I don't know enough about motorcycles to know that it's sounding a little too loud. I think I've got to give it some more gas because I got to make sure I get up in front of that car. Now, okay, motorcycle drivers, if I want to turn right, what do I do with my head? Not just look right, right? Look right. Because on a motorcycle, your body follows your head, whereas in the car, you start turning and then your head follows your body. But I'm used to driving a car. I don't know quite what I'm doing. So I do what I do in a car. I just turn my head like this. And I start driving, and I go right past my lane. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm right past my lane, and I turn right into what lane? Oncoming traffic lane. Of course, I have no idea, and I don't even have any skills to know what to do. And a car, I have a head-on collision. Oh yes, head-on collision. A Prius. Thank you. It was a Prius, thank God. So I hit it, and then I fall down, and I'm laying there, still holding the handle. And I realize, I'm alive. Okay, good, check. And I'm like, okay, no searing pain. Okay, check. Okay, no mangled body parts. So I gingerly get off of the motorcycle, and by then a few people have stopped their cars, and they're very nice, and they help me move my little mangled motorcycle to the edge of the road. Meanwhile, the woman who I had hit comes running up to me. Oh my God, she says, I thought I killed you. And she bursts into tears. And I am mortified, and I hug her, and I'm like, I am so sorry. So here I am, like, right, near-death experience, and I'm comforting the woman who is even more mortified because she thought she killed me. Meanwhile, the police show up, and I take full responsibility. It's my fault, this is what I did. I tell them the whole story, and then one of them says to me, okay, great, we're not going to take you in. And I'm like, take me in? I didn't realize that they were checking to see whether I had been reckless. Like they were actually deciding whether to arrest me or not. And I was like just thinking, I'm just going to take responsibility. I'm going to do the right thing. And I'm sure they were also trying to figure out if I was under the influence of any substances. Meanwhile, the husband of the woman comes, and he gives me a hug too. I'm like, these people in Grass Valley are We watch the tow truck tie my little bike up and as it drives away. And they say, we're going to take you home. So they take me home. The next couple of days, my thighs just become massive, massive black and blue bruises, massive. And I think about what I've done. A couple of days later, a friend posts on Facebook, 10% is what happens to you, and 90% is how you respond. I can't help myself. I write down 10% crashed my motorcycle, 90% healing my bruises, talking to the insurance companies, figuring out what to do with the broken motorcycle, and thinking about when I could get on a motorcycle again. Despite my cheerful post, I did decide to not get into my motorcycle era for the time being. As I said, I was on the road and I was doing many other things, and I realized that I needed to wait until I settled down and I really had the time to learn how to ride the motorcycle well. So having said that, if there is anybody in this room who is a size small, women, I have a jacket, see me at the break. There are, as you can see, actually you can't even see, right? There's almost nothing. So the point is, it's a great jacket. It It really does the job. Did not tell the story for a long time because, and I told myself it's because I was so embarrassed. There's that foolish moment and that wise moment. And I'm sure many of you can think of times in your life when you've had to make that choice. And I felt like I made a bad choice and that the consequences could have been terrible. But in talking to a friend the other day, I realized the real reason I did not tell this story to people, and my twins were chastising me even at dinner tonight. God, Mom, you didn't tell us for like months. Is that I realized I could have died. And it wasn't even my dying that made me not tell the story. It was realizing that if I died, I would be off on whatever the next adventure is. But I would have left people I love, including my twins, and the person who hit me with some very difficult feelings and situations to deal with. And I didn't want to look at that. I didn't want to look at what that impact of my decision-making might have had on other people's lives. Telling the story today is really part of forgiving myself and saying, there was that moment where as the woman, after she said, I thought you were dead, the next thing she said is, you are a miracle. And for 2 or 3 days after the accident, she would text me and say, you're a miracle. But of course, at the time, I didn't feel like a miracle. And now I do. I am a miracle because I'm alive and I'm here to tell this story. And the other thing I realized is all of us at different times of our lives have probably made a decision that was not so wise and that had consequences. People are laughing, yes. That had some consequences, either small or large. And I want to end by saying, not only is it a miracle that I'm here, it's a miracle that you are all here. So let us take our miraculous lives and go out and find some adventures after tonight. Thank you.